I got that dreaded piece of mail a few weeks ago saying that I have won the lottery and I have jury duty. Ugh, was my response. And so this past Thursday, I, with about 70 others, went to the Richmond courthouse, and there was this communal groaning going on. I don't think anybody wanted to be there. And then in the midst of this, I'm thinking about how inconvenient my life. I have so much to do right now. This simply is not the time. And typically it is never the time to serve on a jury that we say, oh boy. But we received finally a brief description of what the case was all about. And I put my inconvenience in light of their inconvenience. This criminal case where lives have been put on hold, and now I learn, for over a year, waiting for something to be resolved. A 2-day process to select the jury. I'm juror number 6. Sometimes we are called to do things that are inconvenient, that are sacrificial, and we can hope and we can pray that our sacrifices will be life-giving to others. It was the year 594 BCE, before the Common Era, and King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon is seen by Jeremiah as an agent of God who is going to come upon the people of Israel and lead them into exile. That exile is not going to be a walk in the park. In fact, Jeremiah says, you will be in exile for 70 years. 3 generations plus of being in a foreign land. And here's the challenge that Jeremiah offered the people, the challenge that we sung about, the challenge to build your houses and plant gardens and tend to your children, the challenge to allow your children to marry others, to bring others into the fold, not to dwindle, but to increase in number while you're in this exile time. To seek after the welfare of the city where you have been dragged to establish yourselves there as exiled people, as foreign people, but finding your home there in exile. And he gives this challenge, but he also makes this promise that the Lord God will not forget the people, that the prayers will be heard. They're to be people of hope, and eventually God will come and deliver the people 70 years later. God will restore you, Jeremiah is saying. You, the people here, God will restore you and reestablish you back in your original home. And so the people are being called to work for future generations, for 70 years to work for future generations. The sacrifices that they're being called to make are to benefit others, including the welfare of the city in which they find themselves. They are to make sacrifices for their children and their children's children and their oppressors as well. The exile is real, but so too is the promise that their future is secure in God. Our world right now is filled with people who are exiled, immigrants and refugees. And God has not forgotten a one of them. And God desires that they all find a home, that they will be returned home, whatever that happens to be, and they will be a strong people, and it may take 70 years for that to happen. I think of over 1,000 homes that have been lost in Northern California recently because of the fire, and all those people who are in exile, many of them living in campgrounds right now, not knowing if they'll be able to return, or some of them know that there is nothing to even return to. Those people are in exile. I think of all the people in the Middle East who are displaced. We see the recent waves of people trying to get into Europe, but that's only a drop in the bucket of all those who have been displaced over the years, people who are refugees, immigrants, exiled people. Some of these have not been captured by a foreign army, like was the case with Jeremiah's people long ago, and taken to a foreign land. Many of these people are simply fleeing devastation and terror, looking to find a new place to establish themselves, willing to get on a small rubber raft with 45 others and cross the sea, hoping to get to the other side, and many of them making it, and many of them not making it. On our southern border, we find another population fleeing for their lives, primarily young women and children who had heard rumor that there was going to be a welcome when they got to the United States, and so they came this way on the hope of a rumor, fleeing communities in Guatemala and El Salvador and Honduras primarily, where it is a rule of gang and rule of terror, where women are put into prostitution and children are exploited and brought into the gangs. And so these people are willing to travel endless miles across deserts, hoping to find a welcome, longing for a better day. We have seen the picture recently in the news of a 3-year-old child face down in the water in a red T-shirt. Aylin Kurdi, a Syrian Kurd, he drowned along with his older brother and his mother as they were all looking for safe harbor. We are devastated. How many? I mean, you got to moan or groan when you see such a picture, or you see the person lifting this lifeless body. And you got to ask, why? Could no one help? What happened here? We are outraged by the news that all these people, hundreds of thousands of people, are fleeing the terror in their homeland, only to be suffocated in the back of a truck. Similar atrocities are happening just south of us as people are dying of thirst in the desert, or as people are exploiting these refugees, these immigrants, by putting them in the back of a truck and abandoning the truck. The vast numbers of those who are displaced is absolutely overwhelming. And it doesn't matter how great that number is, there's an individual behind the need, struggling. One person multiplied by hundreds of thousands. Tending to those who are in need is rarely convenient, but it is our calling. The world and the U.S. has a history of responding. I believe that 3 of my grandparents came to the United States looking for a better life, and 3 of them came through Ellis Island. 2 came from Armenia or Assyria, and that place of conflict way back then. Another one came from Ireland. When Leslie and I were in Ireland, throughout the countryside, there is reference to the famine. The famine between 1845 and 1852, where approximately 1 million people died, and another 1 million people fled, trying to find safe harbor somewhere, and many of them came to the United States. And I can say that's part of my lineage. And so these places are marked throughout Ireland with mass grave sites, and community cooking pots are on display, and a museum at the port where many people crowded on board of ships trying to make their way on these overcrowded boats across the Atlantic, hoping to find a welcome. The Apostle Paul is writing to a vulnerable community when he writes to the Romans. The Jewish population was a persecuted minority in Rome. And the Christians within that Jewish community were also persecuted. And he says, "Bless those who persecute you. Bless and do not curse." How hard that would be. Think of the images of people looking for safety. And they're going to hear this word, "Bless those who persecute you. Bless them, do not curse," as barbed wire is going up before them. "Live in harmony with one another. Do not be haughty, but associate with the lowly. Do not repay evil with evil. Take thought of what is noble." What a challenge Paul is giving to the Christians in Rome. As a minority, they are not to be pushing back against those who are pushing them. Take the high road. Live peaceably with all. This amazing wisdom, this amazing challenge can be applied today for these immigrants looking for safe harbor. But not an easy challenge here, certainly not. Make friends where you are. And if they're lucky enough to land and be established in a community, I can just hear the wisdom of Jeremiah saying, "Build houses and tend to your gardens and care for your children and establish yourself and look after the welfare of these new locations in which you find yourselves." This is the challenge to those who are vulnerable. If this is their challenge, what is our challenge? Is it not to help them establish themselves? Is it not to extend a welcome, to care for the other who is in need? Unless you are Native American, your family history is one of exile or immigration. That's who we are as a people. We were the vulnerable ones, and maybe it took 70 years for our family lineage to truly get established. But for most of us, they're pretty secure now and established. Jesus never said, "Pull up the drawbridges," or "put out barbed wire." Jesus didn't say, "Claim your rights and hold on to them." Rather, he told the story of the Good Samaritan. And Jesus healed the Roman officer's daughter. And in the Gospel of Matthew, Jesus said, "If any want to become my followers, let them deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me. For those who want to save their life will lose it, and those who lose their life for my sake will find it." It's not convenient, is it? And yet, that's the word of the Lord. And remember the story? Joseph and Mary had to flee to Egypt for safety, looking for a safe harbor. Eventually, they were able to return home. And so we are to use whatever gift we have to further the kingdom of God, the reign of God, the welcome and love in God. That's what we are to do. Paul says that we have a variety of gifts. We don't have all the gifts. No one has all the gifts, but we each have a gift to offer. We each have something to contribute to make a difference. Whether it's in teaching or exhorting or giving or leadership or being people of compassion. Maybe that's the gift we all need to develop, to be people of compassion. And Paul wrote, contribute to the needs of the saints, extend hospitality to strangers. And my friend shared with me a new Bible, the Common English Version, put out in 2012, I believe. And this one that says, extend hospitality to strangers, a little bit more specific. Extend hospitality to immigrants. By referring to all the world's refugees, the U.S. Department of State declares on its website, the United States is proud of its history of welcoming immigrants and refugees. The U.S. Refugee Resettlement Program reflects the United States' highest values and aspirations to compassion, generosity, and leadership. Years ago, two men were walking across the beach, and the beach was just filled with starfish that had been stranded as the tide receded. Thousands upon thousands of starfish were going to die in the sun. And so one man started to bend over and pick up the starfish that were alive and threw them back into the sea because that was their home. And did this time and time again, and the other man said, "What are you doing? There are thousands upon thousands here. You can't make a difference." And he said, "I can make a difference for that one." And he tossed another one in the ocean. Man, this problem is huge. I don't know the solution, but I am intrigued that sometimes we make a difference. One person, one family at a time. And then we'll go to the next family. Contribute to the needs of the saints. Extend hospitality to the immigrants.